According to family and friends of Jacob Marchuka, the shooting occurred after he accidentally bumped his car door into another man's car door in a parking lot near the intersection of Addison and Austin in the city's Portage Park neighborhood on April 4th. After a brief argument, a physical altercation followed, with the car's owner pulling out a weapon and shooting Marchuka in the chest. He was taken to Loyola Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. On Monday night, friends and family paid tribute to Marchuka's life, with the memorial to his life continuing to grow a week after his death. The pain will not go away. It is not going to get easier for a really long time, his friend Matthew Stunek said. Most of the incident was caught on surveillance video, and family and friends are still reeling from the sight of the horrific scene unfolding. The data and statistics are as they show. There was over 460 people killed due to gun violence just last month. Youth are the #1 target of Chicago's homicide epidemic. This could mean from children, teens, and people in their early 20s. And over 61,000 people die in the US each year due to gun violence or misuse of firearms. That really says something when you compare it to people who have died from influenza and pneumonia, as well as self-harm. We had reached out to Valerie Burgess, who knew what she knew about the situation. Because of her efforts she has done in order to make this stop, Valerie works with Moms Demand Action, who stand up against gun violence. And so here's a reenactment of our prior conversation.
Tell us about yourself and your group.
My name is Valerie Burgess, and I became involved in the gun violence prevention movement after my only child, Craig Williams, was shot and killed in Chicago in 2013. I needed to find a way to turn my pain into activism so that another parent does not have to buy their children. Currently, I am the co-lead for the State of Illinois chapter of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. I am also an Everytown Survivor Fellow, which means that we are trained to tell our story to individuals in the hope that our story will convince people to become involved in our movement.
Do you think we are close to ending this?
We have had some successes. We have battled against the NRA, and because of our efforts, we have weakened the organizations. We have advocated for many laws that have passed that will go a long way to reducing gun violence, but we will still have many miles to go. We will continue our efforts and will never give up.
How has gun violence changed throughout COVID-19?
Gun violence has increased substantially during the epidemic of COVID-19. Since March of 2020, gun sales have increased, the number of calls to domestic violence hotlines has increased by more than 400%, and every major U.S. city has seen a substantial increase in the number of shootings and homicides. New York, Los Angeles, and Baltimore, to name a few, COVID has ripped the bandage off the epidemic that is senseless gun violence in this country. As dark as this tunnel of despair and death because of the irresponsible use of firearms is, there is a light at the end of that tunnel. Just how Valerie's organization Moms Demand Action stands up to this problem, so does Mary Stoner Saunders and her organization called Strides for Peace. We reached out to her as well as to tell us about Strides for Peace and also to tell us how she joined them.
Yeah, I'm Mary Stoner Saunders, and I'm the executive director of Strides for Peace.
Okay. Would you mind if I ask you a little bit of questions?
Sure, go for it.
Thank you.
Happy.
Tell us about your mission with Strides for Peace.
So Strides for Peace mission is to increase the collective impact of community organizations working on the front lines of gun violence. But our vision is a Chicago where all can thrive, free from the fear of gun violence.
What inspired you to join Strides for Peace? Have you been a victim to gun violence yourself, or what got you here?
So I've not been a victim of gun violence myself, although I've known people in my life who have, but there was a critical turning point for me. Around 2008, this man named Charles, who worked at Medici, which is a local Hyde Park, University of Chicago cafe, he was one of those really crusty on the outside guys, but a real soft sweetie on the inside. And he loved my son, who was about 3 at the time, and we used to give him free ice cream cones. And one day he gave Gabriel this little African doll that he had. And I went the next day to bring him a thank you card that Gabriel had written in his 3-year-old little self. And they said, oh, he's off today, but we'll get it to him tomorrow. And I found out later that he was killed about 5 o'clock that day. Father of 5, he got into an argument with someone he knew, came back and shot him. It was bittersweet that he did see the thank you card before he left, but the next day in the news, there was about 2 sentences for Charles. And that's when I decided that even though I didn't know what to do, I had to do something. And that instead of saying what's wrong with these communities, I wanted to say what's wrong with me if I'll accept a world where kids can get killed on their way home from school. And that began a journey which eventually led me to work for Build, which is a youth development and gang intervention organization in Austin and Humboldt Park. And then I got to see from the front lines, not just the communities, but the organizational responses to these communities to try to help keep young people on track for a future and to save their lives, literally. And that's where I encountered Strides for Peace, which was founded by Maggie Biskowski with the basic question, which is still a central part of our mission, is to go out to organizations and say, what do you need and how we can help? And so Build became one of their community partners. And when I left Build, Maggie asked me to come on board and be their first executive director, which I've been doing now for almost 5 years.
We thanked Valerie and Mary for their time and what they shared with us. We really do wish there were more people like them. People who want to fight back, to do whatever it takes so no one else becomes a number to a data collection of gun violence deaths. Join Strides for Peace, Moms Demand Action, and many more organizations in which their goal is shared. Make Chicago better. Make Chicago safe.